Hello, everyone. And I'm just going to say again, happy 2022. Sharon and I are actually recording this in the week between Christmas and New Year's, which is that weird, hump week where it's like, am I supposed to be a person or can I keep saying that I get to turn into my own couch. So I want to thank you for being here with me to talk through this with me, just as we're on the cusp of a new year. So thanks for being here, Sharon.
Oh, my pleasure. It's an
Um, it, it's an honor. Please, I'm in the presence of the great Sharon Sharth, if I can say it that way. So, Sharon, and I have gotten to know Sharon over the past. Would you say is it almost 2 years or year? 2 years or
Oh,
year?
boy. It's almost 2 years, actually. Yeah.
I can't believe that's crazy. That's so
Yeah,
wild to me.
yeah.
Right? And we did so, and I don't know about anybody else listening, but for me, it's been the time of meeting people and maybe not knowing them in real life because you meet them during the pandemic. But we did have that. We got to have one
Yeah.
beautiful window of time between before Delta Omicron, and we had in a park where we got to see you for like 2 seconds in real life, which is such a thrill here in Los Angeles, right? So, um, and I'm just a huge fan of Sharon, and I wanted to have her on the podcast because um, she uh, got managers and agents, and she had been, I'll let Sharon tell the story. I have my version of the story, but I want Sharon, I want you to share it. But before we get into the journey of how that all happened, can you give everybody just a little bit of a bio to understand who you are in your career, and they can understand a little bit of what you're bringing to the table?
Sure. I'm an actor, and, I've been in the business for a very long time, since college, since just after college, and I got right into the business. Spent my first bunch of years in New York and did a lot of work at Circle Rep with Lanford Wilson and Marshall Mason, and that was a huge thing at the time.
Hmm.
Bill Hurt was part of that company, and um, Jeff Daniels. I mean, the list goes on, and Judd Hirsch,
Yeah.
and we all got to do readings and stuff. I mean, it was really great, and it's really where I learned how to act. So I was there in New York for about 12 years, and I also became an actor of Actors Studio, and I did film and television too. But that wasn't what my thing. My thing was really the theater. But I came out here to Los Angeles because I needed a name. I didn't have
Mm,
a name.
yeah.
And my first job out here, I'll just say this fast, was working down at the Old Globe Theater. And about 3 weeks into the show, it was called Lost Highway, and it was by Mark Harlick about Hank Williams and his wife Audrey, who I played. And about 3 weeks into the show, we were just at the top of the show, and Mark clipped me. Oh, I shouldn't say that. Someone in the cast clipped me, and my jaw went across my face like a typewriter thing,
Oh
right?
my God. Yeah.
Across my face, and I had to sing my first song, and my mouth is over here, I didn't know what to do, so I just kinda went like this. I turned up stage and felt it and thought, "Okay, just go sing your song." I could barely open my mouth, so I started singing the song, and, Audrey was always a little bit off key,
Mhm.
so it was okay, that I barely opened my mouth, and I got off stage right after that, and it didn't look as bad as it felt. I mean, it really was dislocated
Right.
completely. I finished the show. Luckily, it was a Sunday night. I came back up to Los Angeles and started getting it put into place every Monday, my day off, and then I'd go back and do the show again for the week, and I was on Advil, just
Oh my
tons of
gosh.
Advil, and, basically, after the show ended, that was my first job in Los Angeles,
Wow. Well, wait,
and
first of all, and I'll let you finish the story. Go ahead. Go ahead. I have so much
well
to
well
say. Go on.
so then, what happened was the doctors, because I had to go see doctors and stuff because it was workers' comp, and the doctors said, "You need to find another career," and
Oh.
that was like, "Whoa,"
Meaning
that was
what? Because 'Cause you're never gonna talk again?
because my jaw was so dislocated, and I had to have braces. They had to keep pulling it back into place.
Wow.
They said, "You'll singing is gonna be really hard, being on stage is gonna be really hard." I did some television stuff, but I really was thinking, "What am I gonna do?" Because this
Right.
my life.
Yeah.
And I started writing. My parents are both journalists. My brother's a journalist. So I started writing. Uh, and I started writing children's books. And I wrote 16 children's books during this
Wow.
time.
Wow.
And anyway, during that time when I couldn't act, I mean, I really
Yeah.
thought I was out of the business. And then, eventually years went by where I wasn't acting, but I started writing a play by mistake. And I wrote this play, and I started having all my friends from Circle Rep and, all the actors I knew out here come and do readings with me. And then we put it up a couple years ago. And I mean, I got back in the business. I came home one day and I said to
Okay.
my husband, after a reading of one of my plays, I said, "Oh my God, this is what I meant to do. This is,
Mm.
I mean, it's sad that I haven't been doing it for all this time, but I can do it. I mean, my mouth is okay now,
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I just think it's so just there's a couple moments that I want to take back to when you tell a story is like having a medical professional sit across from you and say, "Yeah, no, you can't do that anymore." It's like you already have all the other fears about being an actor in your head. Now you have a doctor saying, "Yeah, no, you can't do that." That's a real comeuppance inside, right? And
That's right.
that you found a place to I think creativity when it is stifled gets leaky and can go in bad directions, and yours
Yes.
went into a beautiful direction of writing children's books and extend and then that of course was like of course a play accidentally got written in that world because
Yeah,
that's where you
yeah,
were.
yeah,
And
yeah.
but I want to go back just also is one of the things you said is, you know, that the game you were playing, the level you were at with theater in New York is for you to get the part you were right for you to keep was you needed to be a name. So,
Yes.
and I want to be very clear that where Sharon was that she we're talking about the Broadway game here. We're not talking about the like I'm doing off Broadway I'm like off Broadway in a random
No.
theater, right? Where she was and the level that she was playing at and the people that she was working with is really kind of a, I think, super interesting and storied career that you have had. And so when you came back to, after you'd done this play and you came home and you told your husband, like, I meant to be acting, like this came back to you.
Yeah.
Thank God for the rest of us, because if you guys, Sharon's acting is so effortless and beautiful. It is a
Oh, thank
joy to watch. And I've only gotten to see, a couple clips here and there. And every time it's like, you just lean right into that. You just want to lean right in and just watch what she's doing because it's so good. So I just want everyone to just hear
you.
that. And what then, so let's get into the story of getting reps for you, right? Because
Yes.
there's a difference between there's a big jump, I think, between like I'm meant to act and I'm meant to now I need to get representation to get more auditions. Because clearly you could get some auditions on your own, but for the game you want to play, you really wanted to play a bigger game. We need to get representation. So share just the results of tell us the story of how you landed your representation. And I might interrupt 1,000 times, just
Okay.
FYI. Okay.
Okay, so, well, I don't exactly know how I found you, but, I have been without an agent for a lot of years, and I have been working steadily. I mean, once I got back in,
Mhm.
I've worked all over Los Angeles, in Ventura, at the Geffen, at all the good theaters, and thank
But and
God,
the work you were mostly getting on your own was the theater that you were able to get.
theater.
Is that correct? Great,
That's right,
great,
right.
right. And at good places. Yes.
Yes. And getting paid well and all that.
Yeah.
Um, so anyway, uh,
You're doing great.
I
This is
blanked
great.
out.
It's
Okay.
okay. You're telling me the story of like getting theater. You're getting out of the theater, and then you're
Oh
like,
yeah,
and yeah,
yeah. And anyway, and I knew that I had to get back in. I had to get back in. I
yeah.
mean, so many of my friends as they've aged have said things like, "Oh my God, I go to a theater and I just think, oh my, I'm so glad they're up there and I'm not." And I
Mm.
didn't feel that way. I gotta be up there.
Yeah.
And film and television too, I feel that way. I
Yeah.
see really beautiful work, and that's great, but I could do it differently, not better,
Right.
differently.
Right.
And that's, anyway. So you found me or I found
I
you
know the
somehow.
universe put us together. Yes.
Oh my
Yes.
God. And I
Right.
just thought, wow, this is, I don't know, maybe. And I I think I made you work for it.
You probably sent me an email and asked some. I'm sure I could look it up. The questions you had to ask. You're like, is this going to be a good idea? So, full disclosure, everyone. So, Sharon did go through my program Agent Goals, but I want to be really clear. One of the reasons that I asked her to come on, and she obviously had success with it. But one of the reasons I wanted to have her come on specifically is sometimes we can write the story of like, yeah, that can work for some people, but not for me. And one of the reasons why I try to have students come on and speak is so that you can see that, you know, your background, which does make you special, also doesn't make you special. What I mean by that is
Yeah,
everyone is special and no one is special. So the way by which we kind of reach out to reps, that part doesn't matter. That part does, the story of who you are is what is special. We just need to capture that, whatever your story is. And so her story, that I want to just hear her story of how she made this all work for her. So we started working. You obviously started. You went to some intro class or Make Agents Want You or something, and you were like,
yeah,
okay, maybe this fool has something to teach me or
yes.
something, right?
But also, I have to tell you, not again. This is I don't want to be overly gushy, but you got this bright light. You're a bright light, and boy, as soon as I saw that, and I just, right away, I was like, wow, I want to work with him. And
Oh,
I
good.
came in, and I have to say one thing.
Yeah,
There were a lot of things about agent goals. Uh, the technology was hard for me
sure.
because I'm not very technologically. First of all, well, it's a different show, but I think technology is like ruining the world. But
That
I
is a different show, but I'm not terribly too far away from you on there. There you go. Okay.
I think it's really harming us. But anyway, uh, but the truth is, I was having trouble with it. But every time I would get in touch with you guys and say, okay, I can't do this. And then I'd come back to it and I would figure it out. This
Yeah.
happened over and over. And it just happened again the other day. Well, I won't even get into that, but it happened the other day. And I'm like thinking, God, I wish I could get in touch with Brian, but it's, your vacation. And I can't do that but I don't know how to do this MailChimp thing.
Yeah.
And I figured it out.
Well, something you're saying right now, and I just want everyone to hear this. So, Agent Goals is not a technical program. There are some technical pieces. I want to get misgivings here around
Oh,
that.
yes.
But I
All
also
right.
think what you're saying is so interesting is because, and this is relates to whether we're talking about agents or schmagents, whatever we're talking about, is one of the values we have inside of our business is we call it like be an adult or rebel with a cause. And
Yeah.
what the way that we like exist in this value as a team and the way we do that in the community is when someone asks a question, like if we were to get an email in our inbox like from one of our students, we want to respond right away, be like, let me help them right away. And we made this rule where we will wait 24 hours before we respond to the question, because sometimes we're not
And
letting
that's
that
what
person.
helped me.
Yeah, it
Yes.
did it. Yes, right. Explain that to people, because
It made me so aggravated,
yeah,
but I also would go back and figure it out. And I
yes,
really did. I mean, I've learned so much that
yeah.
way.
There's something around
And
I think it lets you escape your own resourcefulness if we give answer, if somebody gives you the
yeah, yeah,
answer all
yeah.
the time. And that isn't
Yeah.
to say like, Brian, my password isn't working. Like we'd be like, figure it out. Like that's not like I'm not gonna
Right, right.
hide away. Like if it's the kind of problem where obviously we need to step in. We just built this into realizing we were not helping people have the growth that it's so counterintuitive to us as a service business to be like, don't
Yeah.
give the answer right away. And it's not like we're like, let's hide and see if they get that. Literally, we like, I can, it's a little bit more like, oh, that email can wait till tomorrow. It's not quite like
Yeah.
let's see if they figure it out, right? We're not trying to be spinning our mustaches over here and being villains or something, right? Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
wait, we're getting off path. Okay. So share the results from the process of reaching out to representation. How many
Okay. Well,
meetings did you get?
first, something important that I think I want to
Yes.
say
Yes.
is that before when I was just about to send the email,
Yeah.
um, I thought, I might not get, because of my age, because of a lot of things.
Yeah.
Even though I have a background and all that, I may not get an agent or a manager.
Mm,
And I remember saying to Summer, you know, if I don't, this has been such a rewarding process for me.
mhm.
I wouldn't have given it up for the world. I
What did you
mean,
get well, what did you get from it
oh
that
my
was tell
God.
yeah,
Well, it's I work on all this stuff all the time, this inner
yeah.
stuff, and, uh, I just you gave me confidence in, wow, I really did have a career, and I really still do. I mean, even all the plays that I was doing when over the last 10 years, I've gotten, nominated for all these awards for it and stuff like that. And I wasn't seeing any of that. I wasn't
Ah!
seeing
Thank you for
really.
sharing. This is so important. What you're saying is so because what I this is the thing. If every actor in the world could just hear me, right? If I had a megaphone or a billboard in Times Square, I guess maybe it wouldn't be about maybe like an Instagram post. I don't know, but like this is what I want you to hear is that we are so quick to write off anything in our career that hadn't happened in the past 7 days.
Yeah,
Didn't happen in the past 2 weeks or whatever. I didn't book a TV show yesterday, then the rest of my career doesn't matter. And one of the things that we found so beautifully, I think, in your journey also is what I always talk about is almosts. Those
yeah,
things where the credit didn't end up on your resume, but holy shit, the experience that came up to you in the callback or in the test or in the right
yeah,
before it would have been the last minute chance that it went to Glenn Close, whatever. Do you know what I mean like that kind of moment
that's
in
right.
people's careers that we write off so easily when an agent or manager or anyone, me, Brian Pataka, or your mom would understand why, like anyone would understand why that was a big deal.
Yeah.
We tend to not cherish and celebrate those moments.
Not only that, but to me, it felt shameful that I got that
Ah,
close. But
ooh,
this agent coach took it all away,
yeah,
and I just didn't feel that. I mean, I started feeling really, and I still do, I feel really good about myself. I
yeah.
think I'm even, like, pretty now. I mean,
You should. I love that. Yes, you should feel that way. I mean, what I'm hearing from you, and I think this is what I love about it, is you feel almost a little dangerous to me. Like maybe I don't know if that's how it feels like it on the inside, but like you could take a risk right now and you would not be
oh,
scared to
yeah.
take a risk. Yeah, right.
Oh,
So wait,
yeah.
right. So we
I
got
can
to
do
stay on track here. Wait, tell how many meetings did you get?
You know, I couldn't figure out how to find the numbers, right? But I had a whole lot of people.
Yeah.
The percentage of people who opened, can I say that?
Yeah,
The
sure.
percentage was 70%
Shut up. Shut up.
opened my email.
I just want everyone just to clock that. So let's pretend she sent to 100 people. That means 70% of the people she sent to opened her email, which means a few things. First of all, we're not going to get into the tech piece of it because that's too overwhelming on the podcast, but you did the tech piece right, or that wouldn't have happened, first of all.
Yeah,
And number two is we nailed it with your damn subject line because that means 70%. So whatever we did right, we did that right. We did that part right. And
that's
so,
right.
and then 70% opened. And then do you remember, did you have 4 meetings? Did you have 10 meetings? Did you have 5? Like, do you have any semblance of all?
Yes, I think it was 17.
Okay, okay. Isn't that a nice number? There we go. 17. So 17, and were you, and this was during the time, this was very much pandemic time. So all meetings were online, correct?
That's right.
Right.
April, yeah, my first email went out on April 29th of this
Okay.
year.
Of this year, 2021. Right.
Of this
And
year, yeah.
17 meetings. And did you get to go to all 17 or did anybody cancel or did you have to back out? Or you had 17 meetings?
I think I had 17, around 17. I can't remember the exact number,
Great.
to be
Great. We'll
honest.
go with 17 because there you go. It doesn't
Yeah.
sound like it was 4 if you feel like you had 17. So there you go.
Oh, no, I had
So,
a lot.
right.
Yeah.
And you
And
got
they all
manager
wanted me.
and they all wanted you.
Yes.
So wait, can you talk about this moment? Because I think so many actors don't expect this. So first of all, I want everyone just to take in for a second, especially the actors out there who might be challenged to find representation and have tried a million things, just to think about getting 17 meetings where before you even walk in the door or turn on the Zoom, they're already a yes. That's how I think this it sets you up, right? So
Yeah.
when you had those yeses, I want to ask you about this, and I don't want to lead the witness. So let me see if I can. What did
Okay.
it feel like to have that many yeses?
Scary,
Yeah.
but not really scary because one of the
Okay.
things we did beforehand was the other people in my group,
Mhm.
we I had a pretend interview with
Yeah.
them. I
Yeah,
had
yeah,
more
yeah.
than that. I had maybe 4 pretend interviews and had so much fun, and talked a lot,
Yeah.
and it was thrilling, and then I was able to do that with these people
Yeah.
because I
So it
didn't know
felt
the
natural. It
it's
felt natural.
totally,
It didn't feel
yeah,
yes. Yeah, and
yeah,
I think a lot of actors actually overestimate their I'm good in a meeting. And listen, I know you're good to me. You're born to entertain everybody. You're all good in meetings. I totally believe that. The
yeah,
problem is in this meeting, you might just sneak into that part of yourself that feels a little bit like you're being judged by the person across from you. And so that's
right,
when we tend to go into autopilot, or we're not present, or we're not answering questions clearly, or we like puff ourselves up, which is the opposite of building a real connection. So you were able to really be yourself. What I'm hearing you say is I was really prepared to be myself in these meetings. So what was the scary piece? Was it the I have to make a decision? What was the scary
no, I'm very much an introvert, believe it or not.
I
I'm
don't
the
believe you.
Oh my god. I
Really?
those tests you take,
Yes, yeah.
Myers-Briggs and all
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
I am as far an introvert as you could get.
Wow,
I
wow,
really
that's
am,
wild. Yeah, wow.
and I always have been. So, talking, I'm just learning how to do that.
I love that. I love that. Okay,
Yeah,
so when you had so here's the question. Here's the part that I was going to lead the witness. I'm just going to say, I have
yeah,
found, and you might not have found this, that when actors get this many offers, there's this weird like abundance anxiety that comes up, which is like, I have never been wanted this much or never felt this much yes. And now I don't know how to make a
mm,
decision, or like there, and that didn't happen for you, which is great. It can be paralyzing for some actors. So if you're the actor who's like, oh my gosh, I don't know that a lot of actors would feel that way, but many I've worked with have felt like I'm going to choose the wrong one. I'm going to end up making the wrong choice and I'm going to be screwed for the rest of my life. And I feel like, wait, you just threw out all that work you did on yourself. You're going to be
yeah,
great no matter what, right? So when you were making your decision, regardless of how you feel about your decision today, right?
yeah.
But when you're making the decision, what did what did you rely on to help you? What part of yourself?
Uh, oh, I went in with an open heart. I think in the course we work through all the things. I practiced.
Yeah.
I practiced.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I knew that my work that I was sending everybody was really good.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have any qualms about that. And yeah, I don't know. I just really felt I knew. I knew when I met these people. I mean, can I tell you the agent that I have now,
Mhm.
he was the first one to call me.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
first one.
Wow.
And I was like, "Well, I don't know."
Yep.
And
Sure.
I had a million other people to deal well, no. Not a
16
million.
other. Let's just say 16 for now.
Yeah. And, anyway, came back to him. And, yeah, and then the manager, the same thing. When I met him, I thought, "Yeah, he's it. He's
That's
it."
it, yeah. You had
Yeah,
clarity. And what I'm hearing you say is because I had practiced and the part that I also heard you say, and I want to underline this for people is I practiced, which gave me the facility to like be there, be present
yeah,
in these meetings, right?
yeah,
And the work that I did re like the parts of your career that you had orphaned off that Miss Hannigan was taking care of, you brought back into the fold. The like, look, that was an almost that is worth me being proud of instead of shameful for. So you knew your worthiness so that
right.
you could say a no is an okay answer to give somebody because this isn't a match. Like that there was some worthiness that had to that.
Yeah.
So if you had to identify one
Well, can I
part
just
of
say one thing
yeah,
though
of
too, is
course.
the other thing that you talk about a lot is, we want the no's. Now, I
Mhm.
was not gonna be happy with a bunch of no's, but I knew that you were telling me, "Yes, be happy with the no's," because and I know this too, because we with a no, we get to move on to the
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
So
I
we need
love a
the
no. I love
yeah,
a no so much. I
I
and,
know
and
you
like I love a no more than silence. I'll just say that. I wish that
do.
if I could also make a wish for every actor in the world is that every email you ever send would always get an answer, right? Like cuz I think
Yeah,
a no gets you so much freedom more than
yeah,
well maybe they didn't open it, maybe they didn't look at it, maybe I should send them a different email, like all that mishigas that happens. I
yeah,
like let's put that aside and just assume silence doesn't have any meaning, but it
right,
isn't a yes.
right,
It isn't a
right.
yes, and that tells you something. That's some
Yeah,
data to collect there, right? So I
yeah.
appreciate you saying that. So if you had to identify one thing um, from agent goals that helped you the most, what would it be and why?
Oh, it was all the inner work we did, you know? I mean, I'm gonna throw this in here and you may want not want this to be in there, but,
Let's see.
I did the Course in Miracles
Uh-huh.
for 7 years while I lived in New York,
Uh-huh.
and, saw Marianne Williamson every week
Yeah.
and did her private things and da 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 da. At the time, I was living with a man, we lived together for that 7 years. I also was in doing other things
Yeah.
to inside stuff,
Yeah.
and, by the end of the 7th year, and I mean, I did the Course in Miracles.
Yeah.
By the end of the 7th year, my life fell apart.
Mm.
That's when he left me. Well, I left him because he didn't wanna marry me
Mm.
after 7 years of living with me. It
That's when you
just
leave.
broke
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
heart,
Yeah, I'm sure it did. Sure it did.
broke me.
Yeah.
And I've always thought, well, that's why everything else fell apart, but no, it was the Course in Miracles because that's what they say in the Course in
Yeah.
Miracles, so you can take all this out if you want,
No,
but the
are
Course
you everyone, I just want you to know, obviously it's not taken out because you're listening to it right now. And if in case any of you are not aware, I am trained reverend in A Course in Miracles. That's my background, but my practice is non-denominational. So this language, if you got just in case anyone's not aware of what A Course in Miracles is, Course in Miracles is not a religion. There's no dogma, there's no doctrine. It is a psychological mind training, not a cult, around getting clearer, and it's on a thought system based on love instead of a thought system based on fear. And
Right.
it uses Judeo-Christian imagery and metaphor to tell its story and to help you understand kind of the teachings inside of the course. And so that's what my background is from. So as you're saying that, of course, when your life falls apart, you make a change. You think change happens, right? And
Right, right. Well, go ahead.
no, and so you're connecting this to your biggest takeaway. I wanted to hear how this all connected for you. Right. How did it connect?
Uh, because it was all the inner stuff.
Yeah.
The reason so when my life fell apart, but and it was really before I left New York.
Right.
He broke up with me. I broke up with him because he wouldn't marry me.
Right.
And my heart was broken and work was kind of drying up.
Mm,
I was just and I knew people were getting the parts that I had been working with the playwright on because they had names.
yes.
So I thought, all right, fuck this. I'm
Yeah.
going to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And they came out here and got hit in the face on
Right.
stage, right? So, and then what do you do? My career was gone. I had no man in my life.
Right. Right.
I was alone. It was really painful.
Right.
And y- you just the work that we did in Agent Goals, it's not really about that. I don't want to make it sound like it's the Course in
Yeah.
Miracles. It's not. It's not at all
No.
because but I can only go back to say it gave me the confidence, uh, believing in myself again, trusting that this is my what I'm supposed to do. I love that there's a Course in Miracles line about, let me not pursue my let me not in pursuing my
Is it
purpose.
is it the one I
I
use all
don't
the time?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
it the one that is be determined each day not to leave your function unfulfilled?
Yes, and
Yeah.
I have that, at one point, I put it on a I wrote a love s oh god, I don't want this to sound like
I love what you're saying right now. But let me
yeah,
what I,
if I was listening to this and I'd be going, "Oh my god," I wouldn't wanna, love stuff, writing
wait,
letters.
wait. But wait, here's what I want to say that I think is so important is because even those the most cynical person listening right now, I hope I'm talking to you right now. We wrestle with ourselves when we're cynics, right? We know there is this soft underbelly inside of us, and at the same time, we kind of don't want to go there. And I sometimes think the cynic or the skeptic, that's a smart way to learn and to in some ways to move through life because you have to put it through your own filter. Some of us use our skepticism or our cynicism to put it through our own filter to make sure it is a fit for us. Where cynicism and skepticism I think doesn't work for you is when it's the only you never open the door.
Mm,
right? If you use it
mm,
as one of your tools for to gain wisdom, then that's great. But what I'm hearing you say is, I related to agent goals in a way where it made me take responsibility for who I've been, which is what the Course of Miracles does. So I think that's kind of where I say it made me take responsibility for myself inside of my career. I'm not equating agent goals to Course of Miracles. Let's just get very clear here. These are two very different things. But my secret goal at the end of agent goals is everybody's a better citizen of the world. Like that's
absolutely.
my secret goal, right? And
Yeah.
they're happier inside of themselves. Whether you get an agent or not, that's the icing on the cake for me. Now, that being said, my promise is, you'll get a manager and agent in this thing. But that's why I think this program is for some people and not for others.
Yeah.
Has to be someone who wants to do this work, right?
Right. And the truth is, that's why I said to Summer, even if I don't get an agent or a manager, this has made such an impression. This has opened me up again in a new way. I
Mm.
just, um, and I'm pretty, I think I'm pretty,
With
oh,
it, evolved, looking at
don't
yourself. You're
know.
doing
Don't you hate it when people say, oh, I'm so enlightened? I'm so evolved.
no, no.
No.
Here, okay. Here's what I see. You're too humble for me to feel that way. But what I would say is, you're someone who does work on herself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You're not coming to this as a newbie, is what I'm hearing you say.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And still, even though I've done all this work on myself, I still, from the course, had this great awakening.
Hmm.
I mean,
I love that.
I mean, even, my husband every day tells me how beautiful I am because I
What,
don't believe that.
what a great husband.
And I have like started to believe him now.
Yeah. You
And it's
sure should. Oh, that makes me so happy. That makes me so happy. Yeah. You sure should. You
thank you.
sure should. For sure. And everybody, if you haven't gone and watched this on YouTube, you need to go watch because you'll see this beautiful face in front of you. You can't resist. Fall in
Oh,
love with her. So, just to so first of all, you said such beautiful things about the course, and I want to make sure you hear me say thank you, and I will take that in. And one of the things that I want to just compliment you on, and anyone else who's listening, is there is a certain beginner's mind that you are willing to bring to the course. I just talked about skepticism and cynicism as being one way to go through things. The other alternative is sometimes using your beginner's mind. So I think kind of a healthy dose of, depending on where you're at, you can flop back and forth, right? And so willing to say, look, I always use this analogy. I don't have to believe that this is going to make a chocolate cake, but if I follow the steps, there will be a chocolate cake at the end of this process. So, like,
uh,
I don't have to believe that by me doing this inner work, I'm going to get a manager agent. But if I do this work, there's going to be a manager agent at the end. That's kind of how I like to relate to it. So, if you don't have belief, take the step anyway. It's kind of part of it, or the faith in it, right? I want you to think about maybe an actor that you know, or that you've met in your lifetime, or maybe an actor that you were, who isn't really feeling the good juju about reaching out to representation, who
yeah.
really isn't feeling good about their career. If you had anything to say, now that you've been through a process like this and you've landed here and you're starting to look at your career differently, is there any advice you would want to offer them or you'd want to say to them in terms of, what's next, or where to lift their head?
Well, in Agent Goals, we do it so differently. We did something different. I mean, I've always had agents and managers, and I've never done it this way to get representation. And I've been with some very good ones and some not so good ones. But we do it differently. Uh because we because we dig in, and we have all this help because we have all these wonderful people who are so willing to give. Um, I mean, I was just to go back for a second.
Yeah.
I was having trouble with Mailchimp,
Huh?
and I got in touch with somebody. No, not it. I just said to anybody in Facebook, "Help! Can anybody help me?" And somebody came back on, and by the time I found out she got was back on, I'd already done it myself. So it's the same thing of
Yeah.
all I had to do was ask and the answer came. You
Yeah.
see? It's
Yeah.
like I just have to show up. That's it. I have to show up because if I show up and yeah, there's work to do, but God, I have the greatest life, Brian. I
Mm,
have a life I never dreamed of. And
mhm.
now I'm back, hopefully soon doing what I want to be doing,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
an actor. And I just have an amazing life.
Oh, I
And
love that.
a lot of it, I mean, was reinforced by what we did. And, I can't even tell you, I don't even remember exactly what we did. We just had a little bit of work to do every day. Or actually, I think was it once a week?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know. It
I used
wasn't
to say
very
like,
much work.
good.
It
I
was,
appreciate you saying that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. But you have to dig in. Yeah,
yeah.
but I love that, you know.
Oh, I love you saying that. Thank you so much. This Sharon, is there anything else you want left to say that you want to say? Because you've said, I don't think there's anything left unsaid, but if there's anything left unsaid, I want to give you the time to say it.
Um, well, just as talking as people, can I just
Sure.
talk to
Sure.
people?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, just about the four Course in Miracles. You may want to cut this out.
Okay.
The Course in Miracles, but I never went back to it. Once my life fell apart, and I
Hmm.
thought it was because my heart was broken, and you know, and then once I started working with you, I thought, wow, the Course in Miracles talks about that your life is going to fall apart if the foundation isn't there.
Hmm.
And mine needed to fall apart. I would not have this husband. I
Yeah.
would not live this life if it wasn't for the course. But the reason I never went back to the course is because I never thought it dealt with the shadow. And I don't get that from you at all. I
Mm.
hear you talk about the shadow. I hear you work on, bright lights have a shadow, a deep
For
shadow.
sure.
And the bright lights, when I see their shadow, but they have been saying, I don't have a shadow, or, they have not let me see that, you let me
Yeah.
see it all the time.
Oh, yeah. You mean how I'm
Because
not a good person sometimes? I'm not a perfect person, you mean?
yeah,
Yes,
yes,
of course.
thank you for that.
Yes,
Yeah,
of course. Are you kidding? Yes, I get
yeah.
frustrated, impatient. He could tell you, right? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yes, all the time. I appreciate you saying that.
Oh, but
I just appreciate you saying that. Yeah, I
it's
really
just
appreciate it.
been very
Thank you.
important to me,
Thank you.
yeah.
So, Sharon, I just want to thank you so much for being here today and sharing so honestly about your journey and your joys inside of it and where you had to do a little bit of heavier lifting. And also, even when you said, like, it wasn't that much work, it was really awesome to hear you say that because I think a lot of actors expect it has to be hard, right? And this must be hard for it to work. And that's actually, it doesn't have to be hard for it to work. So, I
Mhm,
appreciate you saying that.
mhm.
And I'm sure there's a lot of actors who are like, I want to learn more about Sharon. And where's the best place for them to go? Is that your website?
It'll be my website, SharonSharth.com. Yeah.
Great. And I just want to thank you so much again for being on the podcast with me today. And if anybody wants to watch us, where this video is on YouTube as well, you can see us having this conversation. You can see that we really like each other's company. So this was a really fun conversation. So thank you again. And thank you for bringing up A Course in Miracles. I don't always get the opportunity to talk about that work on the
Yeah.
podcast. I think it's inherently a part of everything that I do. But to name it here is really special to me. So I appreciate that.
Mm, thank
Thanks.
you.
And anybody who's listening, if you're curious about how Sharon got all started, this all started with a free class called Make Agents Want You. You can go take it right now. It's makeagentswantyou.com. It's on demand. I think of it as the Netflix of acting classes. You can watch it at any time. And whether you are looking for representation or not, I think the class has value because it makes you start to think about your connections in the business differently and your position in the business. And you have a position in this business even when you think you don't. So, here's to good watching. Enjoy the show. Thank you so much for being here today, and we will talk to you all very soon. Bye bye.